been there before. You've had a day, a week, a month, maybe even longer where nothing you play on the guitar sounds right. You can't figure out why, nothing's working, but don't give up yet. In the wise words of Dory from Finding Nemo, just keep swimming, man. Just keep swimming. In this video, we'll be talking through some of the highs and lows of being a guitar player, the things that get us started, the things that keep us going, and the things that make us want to quit. I think all of us have had that moment where there's that initial spark. There's a song or a solo, a live performance. There's something that made us say, man, I got to figure out how to do that on my own. For me, it wasn't a solo or a chord or anything that got me hooked. It was actually a Kelly Clarkson song, Behind These Hazel Eyes. And before one of the choruses, you hear this nosedive and the guitarist goes, I mean, I screwed it up right there, but that sound for me, I don't know what it was, but I picked up a guitar. I had a little Squire when I was younger because my brother was taking guitar lessons. I actually wasn't playing at the time, but naturally being the younger brother, I had to be better at my older brother at everything. As it turns out, he makes much better life decisions. He's a responsible adult, but I can play guitar, so. But there was this sound, and it was this, I mean, really ugly, really dissonant, and I would screw up all the picks that we had in our house. But there's something about this nosedive into, I'm pretty sure it's an E minor chord. So they go, I mean, it's ugly even now, but that sound is what hooked me. I think it's important to remember the sounds that made you pick up a guitar in the first place, because those are the ones that are speaking to your soul. Those are the ones where you're not really thinking about music theory or anything, you know, super technical or anything like that. It's just, I like this sound and I got to figure out how to play it. I think the next phase that a lot of us go through is you start to get some sort of foundation, whether that's open chords, whether that's learning where the different notes are on the neck. For me, I had classical guitar at my high school. For me, the best thing about classical guitar is the emphasis on right hand technique. If you can keep your right hand interesting, which is where the rhythm comes from, then you can captivate any audience. For example, you can get something really simple like this. And then switch it up, maybe go. Then reverse it. So it's three completely different sounds, all by just changing the right hand. It's important to be able to play chord shapes with your left hand, but do not neglect the right hand because it is a relationship between the two. Classical guitar also provided a great foundation in terms of music theory and saying, okay, these are the right notes. This is what makes sense harmonically. This is what's pleasing. This is what's listenable. And so I'm grateful to have that foundation. Once you feel like you have a good foundation, which admittedly takes years. I mean, I took 3 or 4 years of classical guitar before I started to think about, okay, what kind of sounds do I want to create from the guitar? So you take this classical foundation and then you say, all right, now here's some frickin' Jimi Hendrix. You're sitting there listening to some of these albums and you're like, man, why weren't we doing this in classical guitar? The more I've studied Jimi's music, the more I've realized that he actually sticks to a lot of the Western classical music or a lot of the things that you might learn in an academic music setting. He sticks to them pretty closely in terms of starting with a foundation that's listenable and recognizable, and then he just takes off into the stratosphere. The next phase for me in my guitar playing was, okay, I have this foundation, I have these sounds that I like. I know that the guitar can make all sorts of different sounds. What am I trying to do with it? What sounds am I trying to create? One thing I've realized with guitar is that you can be a lifelong student and still never touch certain genres or certain songs. There will always be things that you can learn, which is one of my favorite parts about guitar playing. It seems like there's this infinite reservoir that you can tap into, and you can always get more. You can always get more. So the next phase that I feel like a lot of us go through is, okay, I think I'm pretty good at guitar. I can play all the open chords. I can play bar chords. I can play a couple Jimi Hendrix songs. And now we're ready for rock and roll fame, right? Not so much. There's that moment where you get humbled. This humbling process is actually a good thing because I think it kind of narrows your focus in a sense that you want to specialize and be great at the sounds from the guitar that speak to you the most. For me personally, like I had that classical guitar foundation. I'm not trying to be a classical guitarist. I don't want to play in front of a room of a quiet crowd that's like, wow, it's very fine. Nah, I'm trying to like crank my amp up and play some rock and roll. And again, I think there are ways that you can incorporate other genres or other styles of music, other styles of guitar playing into whatever you're doing. But if your brain is scattered and your focus is scattered on the guitar, that's gonna come across in your playing. If you want to be a master at one genre or one style of the guitar, then you have to really dial in on that sound and figure out how it makes sense for you and how it makes sense to the listener of that music. For me, that humbling process came when I moved to New York. You see so many great players in so many different genres, and I think it kind of bogged me down at first. It's like, all right, I'm seeing this amazing jazz guitarist, or I'd see this great solo guitar player, and it's like, yeah, they're amazing at what they do, but I'm not trying to play that music. And so it's not a game of comparison, it's a game of, all right, what are they showing me from a musical standpoint, and how can I incorporate that into my composition and into my playing? Because when you approach it that way, there's a lot more lessons that you can take away from it, other than, oh my gosh, they're better than me in this way, but I'm better than them in this way. I don't think it's about comparison, and I really don't think music is about who's better or who's worse. If you're thinking about it in that context, then you've already lost the game. The last thing I want to mention, and I kind of touched on this earlier, is that guitar has this infinite reservoir of music that you can tap into. Whenever you're feeling bogged down, you can find a new guitarist, you can find a new song, a new lick, a new riff, a new chord voicing that can completely open up the guitar. It's important to remember that this is a lifelong game, it's a lifelong process, and you're a student forever, no matter if you're a touring musician or someone that just picked up a guitar. I see it as a game of kind of chasing that initial spark that we talked about at the start of the video. You want to understand why you started, why you picked up the guitar in the first place, and where you're going. Now, this doesn't mean you have to have an explicit, well-defined destination of where you're trying to go, but you want to have some loose idea of, okay, why am I picking up the guitar every day? Why am I trying to get better? What does this mean to me? What does it mean to my soul? For me, I know how the best guitarists, the best songs, the best solos, the best shows that I've been to, I know how those made me feel on a personal level. And so if I can pay that forward, if I can write a song or give a performance that makes someone feel how I felt in a way that I can't really even put into words, I think that's a life well lived, and that's what I'm chasing. So that's what we're gonna do. This was my first long form-ish sort of video, so if you enjoyed it, let me know. Maybe I'll do some more of these. I'll be sharing more here very soon. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you next time. Peace.